Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing something fun, my favorite thing, refactoring. So today I found a better way to get data from Shopify shops without hitting the rate limits, and I'll show you how we do that in a minute, and we'll talk about how we're going to refactor the scraper. And we're going to do this also because the data that is embedded in the pages on Shopify product pages it turns out is not uniform, and it can be customized by the shop. And so we would actually end up having to write individual scrapers for every single Shopify site dealing with their formatted data in their particular way. But the way that I've figured out is a more general way, which actually does have a consistent API, which means we will be able to use the same Shopify processor for all of the shops that are made with Shopify. So that's super awesome. And then also we're going to be building the data models. Right now, we just have this idea of like a product and a brand or manufacturer, I think we called it before. We're going to basically not blow those away, but we're going to kind of work on fixing those so that we have a little more structure and better structure with relationships and that kind of thing. So the first thing we're going to be doing is refactoring those scrapers to use the better Shopify endpoints. And then once we've confirmed that those are working okay, we're going to basically use PestPHP to build out our tests for those data models. And finally, we're continuing our saga with fighting against Vim. And so we're going to see how bad I am at that. So to dive into it, the first thing that we'll talk about is these endpoints. And so when we were on the last stream, we were looking at a product page, for example, this one. Let's just put this over to the right. Actually, I guess it can stay here. And so if we search in this... in the elements, if we search for script type equals type, oh, it's not going to let us. Does it need to be? Okay, there's somewhere in this page there is a just kind of a collection of JSON, but it's embedded in the page. Not there, not there. Let's see if we can search for application JSON. Not that one. I think is it that one? No, it's this one. Here we go. Okay, so for this particular page, all the JSON was embedded into the page, and so it's okay, but there's a better way that I've found that's universal throughout all Shopify shops. So if we look at the URL here and we see it's like divinity/products/ and then like the slug for that particular product. If you just go to the site name /products.json, you can see it's a fully formatted it's a structured JSON document with all of the products that they sell for their entire page. And if you, I guess if we can zoom in a little bit here. So if we look, you can see this scroll. I mean, there's I'm going to say 10,000 lines in this document here, maybe more. Yeah, so 11,000 lines. So this is going to be all of the products that they have in their entire shop. And the cool thing is, if we go to vortexgear.store /products.json, they have the same thing. It's all structured exactly the same way. And again, this is awesome because it means that we can basically hit these JSON endpoints, which are a lot more consistently formatted, so that our scraper, we can just build one scraper for all Shopify style endpoints and only hit them once, which is like the gold standard. We don't have to hit 10,000 pages kind of thing to get the product details from every individual page. We can just hit this one once and we're golden, right? So we're not even going to come close to hitting any kind of rate limiting, which is exactly what we're looking for. So what we will do is we will go to Vim and we will go to our Shopify processor. And so one thing that I've done is after last stream, I was doing some more reading on the Roach PHP site, and what they suggest is having a spider that just does like the actual spidering, and so that's like crawling the site for each individual page, and then basically feeding it off to an item processor to actually do the processing, which is awesome because what we can do is we can have a spider for Divinity, and we can have a spider for Vortex Gear, and we can have a spider for all these different Shopify sites. And then all we have to do is under the item processors, we can just update this to say Shopify processor. And with any luck, that should be okay. So basically, if we write this, oops, $, okay, so there we go. Okay, so now this spider will work using our Shopify processor. So if we go into here, this is I've just extracted the logic that was in the original spider into this processor, but now we can kind of update this to deal with how we're going to be getting this data, because now we can actually we can do something even better where we go to our Divinity spider. So we're going to get this start URL, and we're literally just going to insert products.json. And so if we go down here, I'm thinking actually now we don't even really need to do any filtering, because this is literally just going to get the page. So okay, so if we let's say so if we comment out, should be able to go like this, comment this out. Oops, I want commenting, yeah, $sign, or oh my goodness, DW. Okay. So if we say, I wonder what we get in response as just like the contents of this entire page. So let's just like DD response here for now. And we will go to here and we will say art roach run Divinity spider. So what do we get here? Okay, so it's getting the contents. I'm guessing there's probably like a body. Get XML. Okay, so it's rendering it as a JSON. So I'm curious if Roach PHP has a way to get this, or if we should just be using the HTTP getter facade from Laravel, because I'm thinking that the spider is expecting HTML. Okay. So if we go to here and we say response, let's just try if there, see if there's like a get body. Okay, there is a get body. Get body. Let's just run that again, clear that so we don't have all this other crap. Okay, so perfect. Okay, so it is getting just the JSON, which is awesome. And then we can say, okay, so we want to yield this request get page, oops, get URI, and then we can actually, I guess we don't even need that because we're not going to be looping through. We're not doing a loop. We're just going to have a single thing that's being passed through. So if we say spiders, just going to shrink that a little bit because it's a little big. Yeah, so we just want this item. How do we want to do this? Because the request actually is for this to send more like spiders out to go get more stuff. So what we really want is this item, and so we're just going to say products is going to be response get body. And then in our Shopify processor, we will take in the item and we will say item get products, because that's the name that we gave it in the spider here, because it's basically taking this name products and products here. And so now we just need to understand the structure of what we're getting back. And so we're just getting a list of products. So we can actually go like this. Because it's going to decode this. Oh, and so we're going to have to say product. This is going to be, oops. Products. And so now we're going to have to create another for loop, or for each loop. So for each I'm really frustrated with Vim, man. Okay, for each products as product, oops, and we're gonna have this. Oops. Okay, so in a perfect world, this should work, because now we're getting all of the products. So products is the whole JSON, or the whole JSON document. Then we're decoding it through JSON. Then we're taking the products object here at the top, which is an array, and we're going to loop through this array of products, which should then work with our variant. Okay, so product. So let's go like this, and we'll say art, migrate fresh, just clear everything out. And let's just run this spider and see what happens. Undefined property class name. Okay, so variant name, variants. Okay, so variant title. Is it product name? No, product title. Okay, so try this again. Migrate fresh just to make sure we didn't break the database, and let's run the spider again. Okay, didn't get a description on something. So what are we missing here? So body HTML, okay, variants. Is description not a property on this thing anymore? With this? Okay, so we're not getting that. So instead, it's probably going to be something like we're going to have to take the body HTML and kind of sanitize it, because right now there's a bunch of HTML in there. But for right now, we're just going to save it as HTML. Again, we're going to be super unsafe about it, but that's okay. Insert body HTML. Once again, clear the database and try and run the spider. Okay. Let's take a look at our database. I don't think it created all those entries so quickly, but we'll take a look. Products made 207. Well, that's okay. So if we refresh this database, I just want to make sure that we're actually doing something here. So let's migrate fresh and roach run divinity spider. Okay, so it made 207 objects. Now that's less than I was expecting, because yesterday when we were running it, there was, I think, 1,200 items. So I'm curious if this JSON is not the entire thing. So let's clear this out. And if we go to Divinity Spider, or just get rid of that. Maybe it was because we were DDing there. Let's try this again. So migrate fresh, roach run Divinity Spider. Okay, how about now? 207 still. Okay, so if we say, okay, we're gonna DD this, response, get body. We want to wrap this in a JSON. Oops, JSON code. I'm going to say count. Okay, it's not going to let us do that. How about if we go like this? Count of, and this should actually be products. Okay, so that's going to decode, let's see, so that's the JSON decode. This is the, that. Products. There we go. Okay, so if we run this again, so it's only seeing 30 products, and it's all right because we're looping through the variants. So let's go take a look at the JSON here. And so what was the thing we were looking at yesterday? The actual, like it was a MonsGeek. Okay, so it is, MonsGeek is in there. Is it in here? I-75. I don't think that's the one we were looking at. I thought we were looking at the Boog 75 was the one we were looking at the other day. So is that in here? Pre-order Melitrix Boog 75. Okay, so let's take a look in here. Pre-order. Yeah, so it is there. So I'm wondering if we were just getting duplicates yesterday then. Because everything we're seeing here seems to be in this. Let's just take one other look and see if there's like a random thing we can look at. ABS, keycaps, search for Hangul. Okay, so the Hangul is not in there. I'm curious why that would be, where, like, oh, we don't want raw. Let's take a look for PBT fans. PBT fans. Untamed. Untamed. So they're not showing up in there at all, which is very interesting. Let's take a look at their code here. Application JSON. Let's look for this product ID. Maybe it's being called something else in here. Nope, it's not in here whatsoever. What if we go, so the other thing that I know, or that I believe is in here, is if we look at collections.json, is it a collection? It's not considered a collection. Interesting. Well, I am perplexed. You would expect that with 10,000 or 12,000 lines of JSON that they would be in here. Let me just copy this. I just want to make sure that we're searching for the right thing. So if we search for Hangul. Okay, so my next question is why? We have 10,000 lines, 12,000, 11,000 lines of JSON without all of the products. This should be if we search this product ID, is it not being found? Nope. And just to be 100% certain we're okay, so we are able to search. Okay, so I think for right now, actually, now I'm curious. Okay, so if we shrink that. Yeah, this is interesting because we're already at line 2978. And we're halfway through the file and we've only shrunk about 20 different items. And so yeah, there's definitely not going to be many here, but I'm curious what qualifies a product to actually show up in the products list and what wouldn't. So yeah, so there's, yeah, give or take 30, I think was the count that we saw. I thought we saw, yeah, 30. So it thinks there's only 30 products in this store, and I mean, I think we can agree that that's definitely not the case, even just going, well, maybe not. Yeah, no, 46 products in keycaps alone. So if we go here, if we go JSON here, okay, so that's the collection itself. We go keycap sets.json here. Does that, no, okay. Keycap sets. Okay, if we go into one of these products, is there another like definer? Okay, so I think then what we're going to have to do, and this kind of sucks, but that's okay, is we are going to have to spider the site. But then once we spider the site, then we can use the URLs to build up the JSON, which will then send it for an item through the item processor pipeline. So that kind of sucks, but okay. So we're going to go back here to NeoVim, and we are going to say delete that. And so let's Okay, so for each page as page. Okay, so how do we want to get this done? So, okay, so the parse is just gonna be the spider, and then so we are going to take the response and we are going to just go like this for a second. Oops. DD, I just want to see what we get for response get URL. We're not getting anything. Okay, why not? Oh, because that's incorrect. So we will just we're not getting any stuff in here. So when we get a product page, it should be calling the parse product function or method here. Otherwise, okay, so are we getting hit by the rate limiter, for example? No, not yet. Okay, that's good. So why is that not? String page get URI starts with that, and then if starts with the products, call the product parser. Otherwise, just call itself. So why? Let's go DD. What are we not doing? Okay, so we filter out all the A links for the first page that we get, which is, oh, that's why. Okay. Okay, so the first thing we get, this response should have. Okay, so now if we go back here, we should be able to go down here. Oops. Get URL. Oh, okay, we don't have access to the URL in this parser, which that's too bad. What can we use? Is there a way to pass data to our item processor? Spiders. Configuring spiders, blah, blah, blah. Now, if we just go like, options is going to be an array. So we're going to say URI is page get URI. And then we're going to, how do we accept the options here? DD this option URI. Is there no, is a get option maybe? I thought I saw something the other day where it was something about the options that are passed into this method, into a custom method. Configure, but then how do we, accessing options, this option, undefined method. And is this just like this? Oh, it's for the middleware stuff. So we might not be able to pass this like I was hoping. Spiders. Okay, so is there any way to pass information to the request? In request get this parse. Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. This get page URI, yeah. Configuring spiders item processor. Well, that's annoying. Yeah, this is context for the whole spider, not for this particular instance of it, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the specific URI so that we can pass that along as the yield. So how are we going to do this? Okay, there's got to be a way in this. So here's the PSR request, and it has the URL in there. So there's got to be a way that we can access that. Gotta think. Is there anything else above here? Probably not, but who knows? Okay, so there's a URI property on the crawler. Can we just do insert oops. Undefined property URI. How do we get access to that? Can we access the crawler first? HTTP response. Okay, we can't access it like that. That sucks. If we go cat, why can't we access that? Vendor, I'm assuming it's, yeah. Launch PHP. Nothing currently selected. Okay. I don't know how with Vim to make the autocomplete come up, and I don't know how to dig in drill into this. So this is going to be the first time where I have to open VS Code for now because I'm not going to figure this out on stream. Let's go to vendor, roach, PHP, core, source, HTTP, response. Okay, so crawler is private, which sucks. Get body with body, get response. Okay, what if we do try... get request. What do we get on here? Okay, so we might have access here. Get URI. Okay, cool. So what we can do now is we can say URI equals response, get request, get URI. And then what we're going to do is we are going to, oops, undo that. I hate that you can't use the or delete key. That's going to drive me insane. Okay, so we're going to yield the oh, this is going to how do we want to do this? We want to go so we want to, so what I'm thinking about is like, this is just going to process the, okay, so actually what we can do is we can just say get URI that.json. So now when it finds a products page, it's going to get the current URI and append.json, then it's going to fire off the parse product here. We can just get rid of all this because this isn't helpful. Oops. That square colon. Okay. Oh. And so now we don't even have to worry about this because now our product is going to be the response get body. And so this should now call our Shopify processor. So if we go to Shopify processor, and we can get rid of this. We're still only going to have one product. And so what does that structure look like? Go to .json because that's what we're going to find. We're going to get just the product. Okay, so $sign there. Undefined variable product. Oh, and we need to go Okay, so because we're now passing in a single product, which is good, we will get the vendor out of there. We're going to assume that there is a vendor. Yep, there's a vendor. There should be a SKU. There should be all this stuff. So if we go back to our Divinity spider, and okay, so we're not dumping and dying there. Yeah, okay. Let's try and run this and see what happens. Art, migrate, fresh, drop anything that's in the database, and let's run the spider again, and let's see how many products we get. This is annoying. So I don't know if you've seen this over the other runs I've been doing. So it's some kind of timestamp that's happening inside the Roach PHP system clock defined that must be greater than or equal to the current time. And so I'm assuming it's trying to like make sure it's not going too fast, but it continually happens at random. And so I'm assuming that it's like happening at the exact same millisecond. So we're gonna have to deal with that as well. Okay, so standard class available is not there. Product. Well, that's not great. So this is going to be an example of a variant. So taxable, requires shipping, position, title price. Inventory management is Shopify. Well, that sucks. Again, this is all kind of the kind of stuff you deal with all the time. Yeah, you have an idea, and sometimes they don't always work out. So this kind of sucks. There's no availability in these product pages, which sucks. I'm just curious if that's also the case for these other sites. So if we go to this product, JSON, yeah. Which is kind of crazy because you would think that they would want to include that for people who are using, who are building themes based on the JSON data rather than the built-in embedded data. Image ID, yeah. Cherry looks black, blah, blah, blah. That is too bad. That makes my heart hurt. Okay, well, the good thing is that, well, maybe not good, but we can go to our, what's the revert? Changes. Refresh, pull, push, pull. Discard all changes. Discard all changes. Discard all changes. Okay, so now we're back to how it was last stream. So let's clear that table. Let's run our spider. Yeah, it's going to do that same stupid thing again. Time sleep until timing system clock. I'm curious. And again, we're just going to go into VS Code because I don't know how to dig in that way. So source scheduling, timing, system clock. So what is it doing? Date time immutable. Sleep until date get timestamp. So it's actually taking longer. So sleep until is now greater than date. Okay, so let's go into Roach. There's got to be a way to set the, I'm guessing it's based on some kind of delay, so we can just like set a delay of like 1 second per request, hopefully. Options, concurrency request delay. So is this in the spider? Yes, okay. So we'll go back into here and we will, request delay is currently 1. What happens if we change this to 2? Let's refresh this. Okay, call to undefined method creator update. Oh, it's creator update, or update or create. Okay, so where are we doing that? Update or create. Okay, so we've got first few populating here. Oops, that's okay. Hopefully this won't take too much longer here. Come on, start populating. Defining gift card, yeah. Cool. Okay, so that's going to take a few minutes here. So it's at 119 items. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so while, pardon me, while that's running, we can think about our data model. And so if we go to our draw.io, and not that one, we want Thoc. Open in this window, discard changes, don't care about that diagram anymore. Okay, so I've put together an ERD of generally what I think the database is probably going to look like at some point. But for the time being, what I want to do is I want to get, pardon me, the ones in blue here. These are kind of like our main tables. I guess the vendors as well is going to be an important one. So let's make that one blue as well. Okay, and so everything else is kind of going to be based on like extra features of the site that we can build out later, but these 4 are going to be our main kind of data tables. And so I'll zoom in here so that we can see what we're talking about. So vendors are going to be like a site. So like Divinity is a vendor, and they're going to have some concept of stock. So like the Boog 75 keyboard in Shockwave. Then we're also going to have a brand, and a brand will be like the manufacturer of a keyboard. So it would be like the Melitrix of the Boog 75, and the product would be the Boog 75 kind of thing, right? So every product has a brand. Stock is made up of like a vendor ID, so something that's like a vendor is selling, and a product ID from the product. And then it's also going to have like its price, whether it's in stock, when it was last seen in stock, that kind of stuff. One thing to note on this ERD, like don't pay too much attention to like the data types. Like some of them are int, some of them are timestamp, Boolean. I just kind of gave up after a while filling them all in. Like they're not all going to be strings or ints, whatever. Like I more just put this out to get for myself to get like a visual concept of what I'm really trying to accomplish here, and then we'll figure out the actual data types. I'm more looking at like the relationships between the tables. And so what I'm thinking is we will start with the brands, then build products, then build stock, then build vendors. And we'll do that all with PestPHP. So let's, okay, so that to that end, current node list is empty. Okay, so that's, for now, we're just going to treat that as it worked fine. So let's go take a look at the database. There are 542 rows. I still feel like that's not quite enough, as I think there was like 1,000 last time, but for right now, we'll just leave that. So we have a generally working spider. So we'll start working on like the actual, the data models kind of thing. And so what we will do is we will say art make test, and what was the first one we were talking about? Brand test. Okay, so if we go to brand test, why is it making them PHP unit tests? That's not awesome. So let's close out of here for a moment. Go into our browser. Feature. Yes, I want to delete brand test. I thought we said that we wanted to use pest tests. Is that not the case? Oh yeah, we said pest right here. So why is it making? I bet you it's because of the stubs. Okay, 1 second here. So we want to go Laravel stubs. Yeah, whatever, customizing subs. I know there's like okay, so artisan stub publish. So if we go art stub publish, and now if we go to our stubs and test, so we can we're just going to say DG. Okay, and actually, close that one. Okay, so now if we create a test, should be blank, more like a pest test, brand test. Beautiful. Okay, so so what do we want it? What I really want to do, and this is probably making it too brittle, but that's okay. I'm okay with that at the beginning of designs here. So we're going to say it has a name and function. I have to work on my snippets here in Vim. Function. So brand equals brand factory create expect brand name not to be null. Okay, so, oh, right, because okay, so art, make, model, brand. Use app. Oh, no, definitely don't want that. Use app models brand. That's what we want. Okay, and so if we run this, this is going to fail because we don't have a factory, right? So we can say art make factory brand. So now if we run this again, expecting null to not be null. So brand factory. And we are going to D5D. So name is going to be fake company. Okay, unknown. Okay, that's good because we haven't edited the migration yet. That's good. So we're going to say brand create brands table. Table string name, and then we also want to go. Oh, actually not. Let's do it full TDD. We'll get the error first, then we're gonna have to add it to the fillable. So no, that's not what I want. Brand protected fillable. Get rid of logo for now. Okay, so we have that. So what else do we need? It has, what else do we say it has? Brand has a website, Brand. And actually, you know what? We're going to add this to before each function. This brand equals brand factory create. And now we can just go and expect this brand. And again, we can say expect this brand website not to be null. Okay, expected name. What am I missing here? Expected this brand name not to be null. Unexpected name. Let's close that. Yes. Oh, you guys probably saw that. That's okay. So now this test should pass. Yep. This one will not. Okay. So we say brand factory. Website is fake URL. And we want to enter the brand and website. Brand test. Okay, and so now this should pass. Oh, right, because we haven't added the field in the migration. So create brands table. Table string website. Cool. equals both pass. Awesome. So it, what's the last thing? Logo URI. It has a logo URI. Expect this brand logo URI to not be null. Of course, it's going to fail. TDD is the best, right? Are we going? It's going to let me write it. There we go. Okay, so brand factory logo URI fake. And this can just be another URL for now. I don't really need it to be that rigorous. Next error is it's not in the migration, so we can say table string logo URI. And actually, now that I'm saying this out loud, some brands might not have a logo right away, so we're going to make this nullable. And then we're going to go back to our brand factory, or our brand test. And we're going to change this to it can have a logo URI, because it is optional, right? So it won't necessarily have one, but it can have one. So, and because we're creating it in the factory, it's going to be there. So we can still do our test here. Okay. Next thing. So now we've got this to be null, but can we also add something like to be URL? I'm not sure if this is actually a method in pest. Okay, cool. To be URL. Cool. Okay, so we've got our brand. So that's this table taken care of. The next thing we'll build is our products. And so I believe right now, so we have product as a concept, but that's okay. We're probably going to, well, yeah, I guess we can just, okay, so we're at a blank slate here. So let's go and open up our product model and our product test. And so we're going to say before each this product equals product factory create. Use app models product. And actually I want this on, not on its own line. Okay, so now what are the fields we want? It has a title. Okay, so it has a title. Function. Man, I really need my snippets. Expect this product title. Just use that temporarily to not to be null. We're going to say to be, can we say to be string, not to be null? And let's go and format this a bit better. And if we run this test, of course it's going to fail because we don't have a product factory. That's okay. So art make factory product. Now it doesn't have a default value. That's okay. So in our product factory, so title is going to be a, yeah, I guess fake name, sure. And price doesn't have a default value. Okay, so do we, now that's the interesting thing, because right now in our product factory, or in our product migration, we're setting the price, but that actually doesn't belong to the product. That's going to belong to the stock, because the product is just the idea of the thing, right? The stock is a particular vendor's listing of that product. And so the product doesn't have an intrinsic price. The product has a price based on the vendor, because each vendor might sell it for a different price. So we're going to get rid of that part of the migration. So if we go to product, create products table, just delete that. And in fact, how do we want to do this? Let's just get rid of everything that we're not officially doing. We're going to do this proper TDD. So we're going to go to this. Okay, so that passes. So what is the next field we're looking at? Description. Okay, so it has a description. Expect this product description to be string, not to be null. Of course, that's going to fail because it's not in the migration or in the factory. So description is going to be fake. Is paragraphs. Let's say 3 paragraphs, and we want it just as text. Unknown column description. Yeah, that's right, because we don't have a line in our migration for it. So we're going to say text is description, and the eagle-eyed viewers will notice that I'm using a text field here and not a string. And that's because string fields are shorter in these migrations. And so the text is a much longer data type. And so we don't know how long the description is going to be, but it could be multiple paragraphs. And so this will just hold that much data. Whereas the title of a product is typically only going to be at most 1 line of text. And so that should hold it no problem. Okay, so that should now work. Good. What's next? SKU. It has a SKU. Expect this product SKU. Yep. It's like it knows what I want to do to be. So this is going to be a string as well. And everything needs a SKU, so not to be null. Yep. Oh, we gotta write the test first. Okay, so failed asserting the null. Yep. Because we're not creating one on our factory, so let's add that. SKU, fake. We'll just use an MD5. It doesn't really matter exactly what we're doing, as long as there's just some random characters in there. So we'll go back to run our test. It's going to fail because it's not part of the migration. That's fine. And now we can go back to this string type, because SKUs are definitely not going to be very long. String type will definitely be able to hold that. Cool. Test SKU test passed. Okay. So the next thing we care about is the brand ID and the type ID, which we're not going to worry about for right now because it's dependent on having this types model, but we're not going to worry about it. So we'll just hook it up to the brand, and then that should be it. So it has a brand. And so this is the fun part. So we're going to say function this, expect this product brand to be, is there not an instance of brand class? Use app models brand. Okay, so this is definitely going to fail. Okay, yeah, we expect that. And so in our factory, we're going to say brand ID, but we're going to create a brand factory. Use app models brand. Yep. Okay, and unknown column. Yep. And now we can say table foreign for, and I believe we can just do brand class. We do want it constrained. On delete cascade, yes. Use app models brand. Method foreign for does not exist. Okay. Laravel. Oops. Foreign key. Oh, foreign ID for. Okay, so yeah, and that takes in a class. Okay, that's cool. So if we go over here to foreign ID for, failed to open the reference table brands. Oh, because if we look at the migrations, so this is because the migration for, why did that go all the way to the bottom? Migrations. Okay, so what's happening is the brands, or sorry, the products migration is happening after, or sorry, the products migration is happening before the brand is created, but then it's expecting there to be a brand thing there already. And that's because we created the migration for that yesterday or the day before. So what we can do is we can just change the name so it comes after. So what we want is the product first, which is here, and then we want the brand. And so this should now pass. Failed to open the reference table brands. Okay, so let's go rename this to let's make this 20 o'clock, and we're gonna make this one 19, so it definitely comes before. Okay, so yeah, so now the brand is created first, right? So if we look at our, so the brands table needs to be created first before the products table can be created. So now if I'm correct, this should work. Failed starting that null is an instance of class app models brand. Okay. So why is that? To be instance of. If we say DD this product. Title description. Brand ID 1. Okay, so it is creating the brand there. It's creating a factory there. Failed starting that null is an instance of class app models brand. Oh, duh. Okay, so now we actually have to set up the relationship. So if we go public function brand, it's going to be belongs to, yep. And we're gonna have to import that. And so return this belongs to brand class. And use, yep, that one. Okay, so now we have the relationship actually set up in Laravel to access the brand itself, and it's going to throw back an instance of that. And so we also want to make sure that this is not to be null. We never want a product to not have some kind of brand. Okay, so good. What else do we got on here? So we've got our brands, products. We're not going to worry about type right now. What else? So let's just make the stock model. So we're going to say art make model stock, and we want a migration and a factory, so we don't have to keep making those manually. So we can say, let's close out of all of these for now. And actually, we can, before we even go into our stock, I'm just realizing that we should probably have the relationship going back from the brand to the product, because right now the relationship we can only look up the product's brand. We can't see all of the products that a brand owns. We have to put the inverse one over there. So let's go to our brand test. And it has many products. Function. I guess it can have many products. So expect this brand products to be how do we want to say it? To be we're going to say, and I'm going to go back and fix the to be instance of collection class, and we're going to say products first. Ooh, actually we can go like that. Products to be an instance of the collection class, and then first to be instance of product class. That's what we want. Okay, so use app models product, use collection. Okay, so is this failed starting? Okay, so that's fine. So if we go to brand, space that out a bit. Public function products is going to be a has many relationship. And return this has many product class. Use has many, yep. Illustrating that null is an instance of app. Yeah, that's cool. So if we now go to our brand factory, so really what we actually need to do is we want to say product, no, this brand products factory create. And so there should be at least one product on there. And so now call to undefined method. Oh, can we do it like this? Elegant collection factory does not exist. Okay, fine. So let's go like this. Something we just learned earlier this week. We'll say product factory. Okay, but we can actually remove this because we can say recycle this brand. So now that should create the product as a property of the brand. There we go. Okay, so we have the relationship working in both directions, which is awesome. Okay, so we can close this, we can close that, we can close that. And so now we can go on to our stock. So we will open our stock. Oh, right, and we need to create a test. Art make test, stock test. And so what do we need to do for our before each here? Function. What are the things we need? So we're going to need a this stock equals stock factory create. Yep. Use app models stock. Undefined type app models stock. Is that not a thing? Models stock should be a thing. Yep. Undefined type app models stock. Let's just save this. Oh, okay. I guess it's just needed a second to not freak out. So it, what do we need? So it has a price. Has a price. Function. And this, expect this stock price. No, not to be integer, or to be 100, to be int, and not to be null, because we definitely don't want an item that has no price. Okay, so fail asserting that null is of type int, so we want the stock factory. No. W. Why is that? Not sure why that's not working all of a sudden, whatever. So price is going to be random int between, let's say, 1 and 50,000 for 500, because that'll represent $500. Unknown price, that's fine. So if we go to our stock, create stocks, no, it's not exactly the greatest table name, but table integer, and this is going to be the price. Cool. What else we got? We'll do the relationships in a second. So it knows if it's in stock. Expect this stock in stock to be bool. Yep. Okay, so in stock is going to be, we'll just say it's, for default, it's going to be in stock, but we'll create a state that will allow us to change that when we get further into our testing. But for right now, just the basics is good. So this should fail because of the missing migration part. So table Boolean is in stock. Okay, that works. And then the final one is the last seen in stock. And so the idea for this is we want to keep historical data, or at least the last time that we've seen it in stock, so that people can get an idea. It knows the last time the item was in stock at this vendor. Function that. So we're going to go yank that. Insert last seen in stock. This is going to be a timestamp, I guess, to be time. See if that's even a thing. Does not method to be timestamp. Okay, so that's not a thing. So to not to be null. Figure out which method to use later. Okay, so expecting not to be null. Okay, so we want to say last seen in stock, and we will do now sub days of random int. So we'll say we've last saw it within the last 30 days kind of thing. And it'll change each time. So go this way, not to be null. Okay, and we don't have that field. So we can now say table timestamp last seen in stock. Cool. Okay, so now we're going to have to build up the relationships here. We're not going to worry about the mock stock right now. We're just going to worry about the product relationship because that's all we have built. And then once we build the vendors, then we can add the vendor relationship here too. So we're going to say it has a product. So expect this stock product. Could probably just copy this from the other one, but to be instance of product class. Oops. And I don't like this. Use app models product. Okay, so we're going to have to do a few things here. So the first thing we're going to have to do is product ID is going to be a product factory and use app models product. Unknown product ID. Table foreign ID for product class, and we want this constrained and on delete. That's not how you spell on delete. On delete. I think it's just like cascade. Use app models product. Illustrating that null is an instance of class model product. That's good because now we can go into our stock and we can start adding these fields. So use, protected fillable equals, and we're gonna have to actually go back and do these in other fields as well. I'm actually kind of surprised that it hasn't barked at us yet. Product ID, price, in stock, and last seen in stock. Then we need the public function product. This is a belongs to relationship. Turn this belongs to okay. Cool. And now while I'm thinking about it, let's go take a look at the other models because I'm pretty sure we're still going to have to add the fillable fields in here because there's no way that this is going to work. It should have failed. So we're in the brand. So name, website, logo, URID. Name, website, logo, URI. And we can close that buffer and into product. We've got title, price, description, SKU, title. Oops. Yeah, so price is not a thing anymore. Title, description, SKU, brand ID, and type ID we're not doing yet, so that's fine. Okay, so if we go to stock, so I've got product ID, price, in stock, last seen in stock, and we'll have to add the vendor ID once we add the vendor table. Okay, so if we switch over here and we run our test suite, we should have all passing tests. We do not. Okay, so what is not passing? New users can register. Okay, I'm not super concerned about that right now because we're not, this is part of the user registration stuff. It has no bearing on what we're doing here. Okay, so the last thing we got to do is BD, close that, and we need to create the vendors. Close that, because now we're working on this table. Okay, so if we go to art, make model vendor MF, vendor, oh, and we need a test. Test. For each, we will want this vendor equals vendor factory create. And what's the first thing it's going to have? It's going to have a name. So it has a name. And again, for those watching at home, these data models are super simplistic right now. Like, this is not what the final thing is going to look like. I just wanted to get some basic information about each of these vendors. Eventually, we'll have a lot more stuff tracking stuff about these vendors. But at the time being, really the only thing we care about even for the vendors is really just the name, the logo and the website and the country. Those are all going to be kind of optional fields. So the not null thing, again, don't read into this. I just wanted to get like the list of fields here, because we're going to be ingesting the vendors from these product pages, and we might not know where the vendor exists, like in the world, or what their website is or whatever. Like what I'm thinking is we'll have some kind of like admin page or something where we can go in and see all the vendors that don't, or like that have missing information, and then we can go manually fetch that later, or we can do some kind of automated scanning or something to try and figure out. But for right now, the only like mandatory field on this model is going to be the name, because it's going to be the only thing that we're kind of like finding out transitively. Like, we're going to be scanning a products page, we're going to be getting the stock, but we're just going to be getting the vendor as probably just like some kind of string. And so this is going to be the one that has the most, I'm going to call it manual work. So expect this vendor name not to be null. No, we want to be string. Undefined type vendor, okay. Use app models vendor. Okay, so let's start working on the factory here. So vendor factory. What am I doing wrong here? So D5D, there we go. This is going to be name is going to be a fake, also be a fake company. That's fine. And it doesn't have anything in the migration. So create vendors table. Table. String name. Okay, so that test passes. So the rest are going to be like optional fields, so they will be nullable. So the logo URI, so it can have a logo URI function. And so in our factory, we're going to give it a logo URI, so we can expect it in this test to have one, but it's not going to be mandatory. So not every vendor will have, not every vendor will have a logo or a website, whatever, when it's first created. This vendor logo URI, not, to be URL, not to be null. Failed to serving the browser URL. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so if we say logo URI is a fake URL. And now we add it to the migration, and we'll. I think we made this string in the other one, so for now we'll leave it as a string, but we might come across a situation where the URI for the logo is very long, so we'll deal with that in the future. Okay, so that's working. And then what else do we have? Website and country. Okay. It knows its origin country. Expect this vendor country to be string. And again, eventually this will be like some kind of an enum, but for right now, we're just going to manually populate it, and then we can work on creating like an enum of all of the countries in the world kind of thing. Not to be null. Country is a fake, and I believe there's a country fake. Yep. Field list. Table string country. Cool. And then I think there's one more before we have to worry about the relationships. Oh, website. Okay. So it can have a website. Function. Expect this vendor website URI to be string. In fact, we can even make this URL, not to be null. Okay. Website URI. And this should be the last of the fields that we're caring about before we start worrying about the relationship stuff. So website URL, fake URL. Okay, so that should, oh right, we got to add it to the migration. Table website URL, string website URI. Okay, so the last thing we need to do now is create the relationship between vendors and stock. So let's do that on this one first, since we're already here. We can say it can have stock of a product. So expect this vendor stock to be instance of collection class, and then the first one to be instance of stock class. use app models stock. And we also need to use the support collection. I believe that's the right one. Fill it nulls and instance. Okay, that's fine because we don't have the relationship yet. So we can go down here and let's go protected, fillable. What are our fields again? Name, logo, URI, website, and country. Name, logo, URI, website, URI, country, and stock ID. And then public function stock is a has many. And return this has many stock class. Unknown column, yeah, that's right. So we got to add it to our so this is actually going to be on the stock migration. So stock, create stock. Table foreign ID for stock class, constrained on delete cascade. Okay, so that should all be okay. So if we go back to our test, unknown column vendor ID. Oh, right, because we have to update the stock factory to actually add that stock factory, because right now it's not creating a vendor. Vendor ID. And I just realized I'm going to have to go back to the migration because it's a vendor ID, not the stock factory. Okay, let's see if that solves our issue here. Failed to open references vendor. Failed to open the referenced table vendors. Stocks vendor ID. So the vendor has stock. Do we need to create the relationship backwards one as well? I didn't think so, but let's do it anyways. Public function vendor belongs to return this. No, not broadcast channel. Belongs to vendor class. Failed to open the referenced table vendors. Oh, right, because now the stock table is being created before the vendor, so it's another issue that we had before. So let's go down to our migrations. So this we want to rename to So I want to make sure it gets created before the stocks. Okay, so it should go brands, products, vendor stocks. That's fine. Okay, so let's see if that works. Failed asserting that null is an instance of app models stock. Vendor test 38. Okay, so right, because now we have to actually create some stock. So we want to go with this. Stock factory, recycle this vendor. So it creates it with the correct vendor. Create. And there we go. Now the relationship is working there. And we will now do the inverse in the stock test. It has a vendor. Expect this stock vendor to be instance of vendor. Use app models vendor. Cool. So let's run our entire test suite. Again, this is probably going to fail. Oh, okay, so the one is not failing. The user registration one is not failing. Not sure what we did to make it work, but not overly concerned about that. Yeah, this is again like registration stuff. So we're not going to worry too much about that. Sorry, just gotta check my phone here for a second. Okay, what are we doing here? Okay, so we have the vendors, stocks, products, and brands all hooked up and working. So what we can do now is we can go back to our scraper, and we will update it so that it's creating the correct models, because right now the models that it's creating are definitely not correct. So let's go to our Shopify. Where are we here? We're not in the right place. Shopify. Oh, right. It's still called like persist. Finicky spider. What did we call it? Oh, right, because we're doing it all in here. Okay, so right. So what we really want to do is we want to extract this logic here to a item processor. So if we go into item processors, right, there's nothing in there right now. So let us visual mode, and we're going to go down, yank, and we want to go into, we want to call this what, Shopify processor.php, and we want to go PHP. No, I'm losing my mind here. This is namespace app spiders item processors. This is going to be class Shopify processor. And I know it implements some interface, but for right now, we're just going to do something basic until I can go look at that, go look at the docs and figure out what it's specifically supposed to implement. Public function, we'll just do it, process, again, item, and it's supposed to, I think it's supposed to be like an item processor. I'm just going to call it processor. It's not going to resolve to anything right now. That's fine. Okay. Okay, so we are going to say item product equals item, JSON to code item. And then product okay, so let's go expected type, app spiders, item processor. Okay, so let's go find in the docs what it's supposed to be. Item pipeline. So we want to go, so class implements item processor interface. Okay, so class implements item processor interface. And where is that from? Roach PHP. Let's just copy this. Okay, and this should be process item. It's not implement method configure. Do we need to implement configure? No, I don't think so. And this should be item interface. Okay, and then we're going to be returning the item so that it can be passed to the next next thing in the pipeline. Okay, so app spiders, item processor, Shopify processor does not implement method configure. Because we can just go use configurable. So that does the default configuration. And so here is now where we're going to actually start creating each of these models. And because we're just scraping and we're not going to know in advance if things exist, we're going to be doing a lot of update or creates. So I'm just going to comment this out because we're going to need to remember those item references. And so first thing we're going to have to do is, if we look back at our drawing here, we're going to have to create a vendor. No, we are going to need to create a brand. So let's take a look here and actually. Okay, so let's D9D. Oops. Yeah. Response needs a $sign. Okay, so what we should be getting back and throwing into this parser once we actually add it to our processor. This is going to be Shopify processor class. So the item coming through here is going to be the JSON it's going to be JSON here. In fact, we don't even need this. We just need to get the body. So let's the product is going to be equals response dot get body, because the thing that it's going to be getting here is going to be .json. So if the page starts with product, we want to send that URL to the parse product method, and that's going to be this. So then we're going to get the body of that, and we're going to yield it to our pipeline. So the pipeline is going to be the Shopify processor. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to decode this. It's going to loop through the variants. And in fact, what we're going to do just to start is we're going to DD product. I just want to make sure that we're getting the right stuff here before we go too deep down the rabbit hole. So, pardon me. If we go write that, and then we art roach run Divinity spider, stupid timestamp thing that we're going to have to figure out later. Actually, no, we're not, because we had to go back to the original thing. So this is going to be correct. I'm not sure what I did there. So the Shopify processor is actually going to be, right, because we had to scrape from each page, which sucks. I forgot about that. Okay, that's okay. So we're going to JSON decode whatever is passed in there, and then we'll figure out what is happening after the fact. Current node list is empty. Oh, right, because of this. Argument must be of type string, item pipeline item given. Okay, so what are we not doing here? Item decode, JSON decode item. Response filter. Item. Man, that's annoying. Get body, I think. We're gonna get banned for the we're gonna hit the rate limiter for sure pretty quick here if this keeps going. Find method get body. Okay, so what are we getting here then? Go back to our docs in Roach. Item get. Oh, right. Okay, so I'm gonna say get product. That's that dumb timestamp thing. Okay, so we're at least getting the data here. Okay, so we want to say product is going to be JSON decode, and then the product So because we don't want to have to keep going into there each time. So product, and then we're going to have our variance array like we had before. Okay, so so let's start off by going to our drawing here. So we're going to we'll create a brand first. So brand update or create. So where is the brand ID or the brand property? Vendor, in this, I guess, is probably the right one because it's a Melitrix Boog 75 when we're on the Divinity site, even though they're kind of the same company. So we'll do vendor for now, unless there's a better option. I don't think there's going to be, though. No. Okay, so we're going to say update or create. Name is product name. And we're going to have to use models brand. Okay. Then we will also create the product. So this is going to be this. So the SKU will be the variant SKU. Yep. The title will be the name. Description will be the product description. If I remember correctly, because now that we're at this level, we can just go to, so we'll just be hitting the description dead on. In stock is the variant, that's actually not what we're going to be using, so let's yank that and whatever. Price, don't care about there. So what else is in a product? Title, description, SKU, brand. Title, description, SKU, and we're gonna have to create the brand. So let's create a brand. And it has to match this. So brand ID is brand ID. And find, yeah. Okay, so brand and product, okay. And then we are going to have a vendor. And so I guess we're going to probably need this anyways, so we'll just be smart about it. So the vendor is going to be a vendor update or create. And so this is going to be interesting because I guess what we can do is we can say update or create. And so the vendor is going to be, their name is going to be the, we'll put this out, take this out of the loop so it doesn't keep doing this when it doesn't need to, but we're going to say name is item get vendor. Let's say ink this. We can D3D. the other thing we'll have to do is pass through that by saying the vendor for this specific product is just going to be Divinity. Divinity. Okay, so the vendor is there. And the last thing we need to do is create an instance of the stock. Stock equals, well, actually, we're never going to be accessing stock, so we can just say stock update or create. And so what we're looking for to validate if this exists or not is the vendor ID will be vendor ID, and the product ID. And then the rest will be the stuff that gets updated. So that's going to be our price. It's not, oh yeah, variant price, yeah. In stock, variant available, yep. And last seen in stock is going to be how do we want to say this? I think what we're going to do actually is I think what I want to do is, because this is kind of like a computed, the last seen in stock is kind of like a computed property, you could say, on this. Well, what I'm going to do is we're going to say, I want to make an observer for this model. And so what it'll do is it'll update the last seen in stock if the current stock is just set to true, I guess. So art make observer. So it's going to be stock observer. So let's go stock, stock test. So before we add any logic, we're going to say it update knows the last, it sets a new last seen in stock timestamp when the model is updated and the in stock flag is set to true. So it's the last when model is updated and in stock flag is set to true. Yes. Okay. So what we want to say is so stock equals, and because we want to be explicit about this specific test, we're going to say stock factory. So we're going to, and we'll set a couple of states here too. So we'll say not in stock. Why did it do that? Not in stock. Yes. Create. And so how do we want to do this actually? So I think what we want first is just an existing model. So that's going to be our this stock. Okay. So what do we want to compare here? So current in stock, current last seen equals this stock last seen in stock. Then we want to this stock update in stock true. And so we want to say expect this stock last seen in stock not to equal current last seen, because it should have been updated. So those should not be the same. Expecting not to equal, right? Okay, and that's because we don't have this observer doing anything. So we're going to open the stock observer. And actually, you know what? I just want to delete that, and I want to go back here and say model equals stock so that it populates those. Stock observer. Okay, so on updating, so on updating, if stock in stock stock last seen in stock equals now, and then oh, do we have to register the observers? I thought that was done already automatically. Observers. Defining observers, okay, blah, blah, blah. Applications event service provider. Okay, so we need to go into the event service provider, and it's in the boot method. Stock observe, stock observer. Oh, yeah. Oh. Gotta quit using the Codium autocomplete for that stock observer. There we go. Class. Okay, so if we look back here, right, so you have to take the model and observe, and then using the particular observer that you've built, and that's in the boot method. Okay, so if we go back here now, expecting eliminate carbon. Okay, so why is that not working? So on the updating event, we take in an instance of the stock that's being updated. If the stock is in stock, then we want to update the last seen in stock, and this is before it actually gets saved. So why? Oh, I wonder if, how do we do this? I think it's, okay, so in PHP, when you're dealing with datetime stuff, you have to make like a clone of the, otherwise it will just update, like it's like it makes a copy of the reference and not a copy of itself, or sorry, it uses a reference and not a copy. So clone datetime PHP. Okay, so so actually clone. Okay. Expecting that to not equal that. Okay, so I'm wondering if it's just happening too fast. And so let's say carbon set test now, add a minute. Use carbon. Okay, so it's still not. Expecting eliminate support carbon to not equal eliminate support carbon. Okay, so let's take a look at dump current last seen. That's annoying. I will get the hang of Vim one day. And, I wonder if we need to refresh it. Nope. Is that a thing? No. Can we do this? Cannot see the date there either. Okay. I still think we're going to need to clone that. I'm going to do it out here so I can actually see what the output is. Filter, stock test. Expecting so why is it not dumping the current last seen at all? Not to equal eliminate support carbon. Okay, so is it the fact that we need to want to be? Okay, so let's go yank that. Why did it only do that one? Oh, I see. Ink. Paste. Okay, and so what we want is we want to, so we're going to copy these two lines and we're going to really, one day I will get the hang of this, I swear. Because what we want to do is we want to say, if it's not in stock, we don't want the last seen in stock to be updated, so we want it to be the same thing. Identical to an object of class, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we weren't really testing the right thing, is identical to an object of class. Okay, so let's take a look. Stock fresh. Make sure we're comparing them. Okay, cool. Okay, so what's happening here is we're saying, okay, so first get a copy of the last seen in stock. Then we're updating the in stock setting, but we're updating the model, but we're not updating the in stock field. So that this should not change. But once we do update this stock, then we're saying it should not be the same. And so now we're should be good to go here. So that should be passing now. Good. We can get rid of the filter. These should all pass, maybe except for the authentication one. Okay, good stuff. And so now we have a fully built, or fully built, maybe this may be a stretch, but we have the four kind of core models of this. And so now if we run the our spider, in theory, and actually, you know what, before we do this, I'm just thinking out loud here. I don't like this being called Shopify processor because, as we've figured out, this is only going to be specific for Divinity. So let's go Divinity processor. Rename. I've been doing this for too long and I haven't had enough lunch, I think. Divinity. Wow. Okay. And then the last thing we need to do is update our spider. So over here, this should be Divinity. I don't know why this is commented out all of a sudden. That can go away. Okay, so it's calling on the Divinity processor and the item processor pipeline. The vendor is set as Divinity. In theory, if we see art migrate fresh, pardon me, and we run our spider, let's see if this starts generating stuff. So we got products, stocks, vendors, brands. And it failed. Okay, so logo URI doesn't have a default value. Oh, right. So I think we never made those nullable. So we want to say, actually, before we do this, I want to close a bunch of these. Create vendors. This is going to be nullable. This one's going to be nullable. And let's migrate again and try our spider again. Let's go take a look at SQL Ace to see if stuff starts populating. No. Okay. Product. Yeah, that's definitely not right for the brand. So if we go up, hopefully we can scroll up to one of the instances where we actually got the data. So the product, was it the product vendor, wasn't it? Yeah, vendor. Okay, so the brand, so this is Divinity processor. So this is the product vendor. No, it's not working. Okay, website doesn't have for which to brands. Okay, so we'll update that migration as well. Create brands. Right, because we're not. Oh, actually, no. Okay, so brands, we're going to. Yeah. So the website for the brand is going to be nullable. And actually, the vendors are the ones that we're actually going to know more of the things. So if we close this, I'm just going to close this one as well. So the brand, we're not going to know the website, but the vendors, we actually are because we're visiting them. So if we go... website... Is it website or website URI? Website URI. And we're going to send that as an item as well. So get, we're going to say website URI. We're going to call it vendor name. Divinity spider. Vendor name. Because we know this, website URI is going to be http divinity.com. Okay, so that's saved. But is there, for the vendors, what else are we tracking? Logo and country. And so we got to make those. I mean, eventually we'll know those. But for right now, yeah. Create vendors, logo, country, website. Okay, so those are this. And let's update the, well, actually, vendor. Let's make our test so it has a website. It's not debatable because we know what it is. We're at it. So it has a website. Okay, let's try and run this spider one more time. And actually, it's good that that failed because we want to refresh this anyways. Divinity spider. Hopefully this will start giving us some stuff here, and if it does, I think I'm going to take off. Of course. Okay, so last seen in stock doesn't have a default value. So Insert into stocks. Doesn't have a default value. I mean, that's technically true, but why is it not seeing whatever the current value is? Okay, so what that really means is our stock observer so on creation, so on creating also if this, what's the field? If this, if not this in stock, this last seen in stock equals carbon parse. Let's just say January 1, 1970. Undefined property in stock. Oh. Okay. So if stock is in stock, or sorry, if it's not in stock, then the last seen will just be 1970. And so we'll treat that as kind of a magic date to basically say like, we've never seen it in stock kind of thing. Updating. Let's go. Oops. Yank that. Right, because, and so let's actually go, well, I guess that doesn't really matter. In fact, what we should do is we should, okay, we're going to copy this. We're going to yank that. I'm going to insert a new line, paste that. We're going to make this the else case so that it's similar. So if it's in stock, else, yeah, okay. Let's try running this spider again. Again. Vendor ID. Okay, so where is our processor? What is it? To stocks. Vendor ID. Okay, so let's take a look at the stock model. And of course, we haven't added this to our list here. So vendor ID. I am shocked that we haven't hit the rate limit yet of Spotify, or of Shopify. Spotify. Not listening to music, JT. Come on. Okay, what else? Brand's name cannot be null. Okay, so what are we not setting there? Okay, So close that, close that. Brand name cannot be null. So I guess we're assuming there's a product vendor. Is it possible that there isn't one? I thought. Actually, let's yank this out, paste it. In fact, even right. Because we're overwriting product here. Okay, so just call this, I guess, new product. New product. And this will be new product. I mean, it feels like it's going longer this time. Yep, we're getting information. Brands, okay. Products, title, yeah. We'll have to get a better title, like without the brand name in there, but that's good. Stock. In stock is not for that one. Vendors, Divinity, yeah. I mean, this is kind of working, it looks like. Processed any of these yet? Slowly but surely. And right now, so obviously we've got this spider working kind of in line. Obviously, once we go, I'm going to call it more of production deployment style, like we would offload this to a job so that we can have multiple scanners running at the same time. I mean, it looks like it's spidered the full site and we're getting rows. That's good. What about brands? How many do we got? Yeah, we got some brands. Vendors, right? That should only be the one. Products. Brand ID, those are all, I'm going to guess TX keyboard. Okay, cool. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is I want to get a better title for the product, because right now this title, this variant name is coming in with the brand name. And so what I want is I want to have this separate, because we already have the brand ID and it's linked, so we can always concatenate them if we need to put the full string. So let's go take a look at the output from one of these products here. I'm gonna scroll for a while here, it looks like. And so what I'm looking for is if there is like a title, like something similar, but just the Boog 75 HE keyboard is what I'm looking for, really. We might have to parse that out of the page, which is unfortunate, but if we have to do that, we have to do that. It's okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like, because that's going to be the media, and then everything after that is just going to be like the content. Yeah. Okay. So what we can do is in our, so let's close this, close that, close that. And the last thing we want to have is like the product name. And we're going to call this product name. Yeah. So we're going to say product name equals filter h1 text. Exactly. And so what that will do is we can pass it through there. And then if we, where is our product being created? It is right here. And so this is going to be item get product name, I think is what we called it. We do product, yeah, product underscore name. So the great thing about that is because we're doing the update or create, it's going to see that the SKU and the brand ID are the same. So it's only going to, oh, right. It's not going to do that. Right. Okay. We're going to refresh the database and run this one more time. But at this point, I'm confident that this is going to work. As soon as we see any products popping up here with any kind of title, as long as it doesn't have the brand name in it, I think we're going to call this a win. No, it's still not doing it. Products. Okay, so what are we not pulling in here? Products variant, item get, product name. So what are in the, let's go to the Boog 75AG. Right, it's not actually what we're looking for. We might not be able to do what I want exactly. Is there anything else in the data that we can pull? I thought when we were working on this before that there was some value that was available to us, but maybe I'm imagining things. I mean, what we could do is split the string by the brand name, but then if the brand name isn't exactly what's in there, so like for example, I think I saw some KBD fans maybe. Yeah, like the brand name's not going to be in there. Well, I think for now, I'm going to leave it at this, and I'm going to do some more digging to see if I can figure out where we can pull that data from and maybe split it by something or pull it some other way. I will be back probably tomorrow afternoon. If not, definitely Sunday night, like usual, at the usual time of 7 Mountain. I guess that's what, 9 Eastern, possibly an hour earlier, but I'll put a tweet out before I go live just to let people know what's happening. Probably earlier in the day to let everyone know when I'm going to be starting the stream. And hopefully by then we'll have a better answer as to how we can get just the product name, because we don't really want to include the brand name in there. That's just, it's ugly. It's not proper normal form when it comes to database normalization. So I think we're going to call it. I just want to, let's go over our list here. So we couldn't do that. So this can just be crossed out here because we couldn't do this at all, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. Sometimes that stuff happens. We did use PestPHP to build our tests for our models. Boom. Vim definitely beat us today, I think, but that's going to happen sometimes. That's okay. And yeah, so 1 out of 3 ain't bad, I guess. We got a list or a configuration of data that's looking okay. We've got some tests to actually kind of confirm that what we're doing is not completely insane. And now it's just a matter of using our scraper to get the right information correctly. So yeah, I think it's been a productive day. It's been like almost 3 hours. I think we made a lot of progress today, and really looking forward to how this kind of shapes up over the next little while here. So again, to everyone who watched this live, thank you very much for hanging out. If you're watching this later on YouTube, thank you very much for sitting through this. This has been a very long stream. If you haven't already, if you could subscribe on YouTube, follow me on Twitch, like the video. Of course, want to feed the algorithm gods. And until next time, catch you guys later.